All right. There's nothing like having an
You can keep that up, Michael.
you know, rock star, ex-politician. No ex-politician wants to follow a rock star. Let's just start with that right now. So thanks so much for putting me second. I'm kidding. I'm thrilled to be here. It's an honor to be here. Seriously, as soon as I heard I got an invite from TEDx, I said yes. My son wondered if TEDx is related to Malcolm X. I'm serious. He's a young kid. That would have been pretty revolutionary. I didn't want my kids to vandalize my presentation because I get on the computer in the morning before I can. So I said you can put one thing on there. So they put these glasses on there in case you're wondering what the significance of it is. It's nothing. It's just to avoid them putting a slide in the middle of this with Louis mooning the camera, which we don't want to have happen. Success and failure is what we're going to be talking about. And in particular, I'm just going to tell you my story, and you'll take from it what you will. But I think that there's 4 questions that we ask ourselves, or I ask myself anyways, when it comes to success and failure. Firstly, failure for me is just, it's just a fear. I've never actually, I find that failure doesn't get actualized except when we give in to the fears. So it's the fear of failure that ends up being the stumbling block, whether it be to success or just to a serene life. But success, on the other hand, is a lot easier to define and figure out because other people do it for us more often than not. And it's one of the questions that I asked is success according to whom? Most people define success, at least at a young age, based on what other people say success represents. And for me, I clamored after success like crazy. I wanted not only people's approval at the ballot box, but before that, by putting together a resume that I thought other people would find impressive. The second part of success for me is asking the question, for whom? Well, for most of my life, success was for me. It was a selfish success. But success that is selfless, I've come to see, is the one that has brought me the most satisfaction. That's my salvation, if you like, is success for others. Success by whom? Again, I thought most of my success was thanks to me. I thought that I was the author of my own success. I put my name on the ballot. I'm the one who finished second in my class at law school. I'm the one who did all these things. I must be the author of my own success. The flip side to this was I always assumed that people were basically the author of their own misfortune, and I turned out to be terribly, terribly wrong. And lastly, success for how long and when? Success yesterday, success today, or success in the future. These are the 4 corners, if you like, of success. And as you can see, based on the combinations, success is not only in the eye of the beholder, but it's also, to a large degree, in the eye of the receiver, too. So everybody today is going to talk to a certain extent about adversity and the story of struggle overcome. What I did not know and learned was that there isn't just like one wall to climb. And we all know that adversity is going to be a part of our lives, right? We all know that. We're all taught or told that there's a journey, there's a hero of 1,000 faces, and there's challenges, and you go into the belly of the whale, and then I don't know, maybe you weren't told that. But anyways, but when it happens to us, it's always such a shock. It's like, oh my God, you won't believe what happened to me. Let me guess, you had some bad news or despair. In my hopefully formerly narcissistic world, it just seemed literally like the end of the world when these hurdles needed to be faced. And in fact, what I've learned, of course, is that it's just life, and it's not about me, as it turns out. So my story. Born April 13, 1966. I took an extra month to come out. My poor mom. In 1966, they did not induce labor. They just left mom there. So mom stays in the hospital for an extra month. I take 10 months to come out. Why? I'm convinced. Firstly, I do like it underwater. I like swimming underwater. But secondly, and you can be all Freudian if you wish. That'd be fine. The 4th speaker maybe can be Freudian. I don't know who the 4th speaker is. But I'm convinced that I had an idea as to what the heck was going to happen when I got got out, and I decided I wanted to delay it as long as possible. This fear of failure is one that, I mean, all of us have, I think. I would imagine. Certainly I did. It has driven me. Laurence Olivier, maybe the greatest actor of the 20th century, had chronic stage fright. Did it make him a better actor? Inevitably. But this fear of failure has, without a doubt, sort of just defined success for me to a large extent. The question becomes, what is the fear and how to act with the fear, too. The next most important date, other than the birth of my kids, in my life is this date here. Because my name is Michael, and I'm an alcoholic. I've been a recovering alcoholic since March 7, 2006. It was the first great surrender or bottom in my life where I came to see I was truly powerless over something, and that the way to overcome it, the way to overcome it was a surrender and to walk over onto the winning side. Now, what has come with it, though, is a certain sense, as described by former governor, Texas Governor Ann Richards, that alcoholism is like one of my strengths. I feel like I got this thing, recovery from alcoholism, this sort of weapon, if you like, not a harmful weapon, power, let's put it that way. I'm like a man of steel. You know, the universe is loud for the man of steel in the movie. Well, the universe can be very loud for people like me. But I have found a way to deal with it without having to be dependent upon alcohol. And it gives me a certain strength and a sense of strength. And not a sense of accomplishment, but a sense of strength that I can do it unvarnished and unmedicated, whatever it is. So the dramatic part of my story is I go from being Attorney General, and by the way, when I was Attorney General, I was an alcoholic, an active alcoholic, drinking. I went to Harvard and graduated drinking. I got elected drinking, not literally. That's not why I got elected. It wasn't a fraternity moment. And was the Attorney General in 2003, 4, 5, and up till early 2006, still an active alcoholic. It doesn't matter what you're doing on the outside. You can be a very high-functioning person who looks like an enormous success, and perhaps is an enormous success. But that doesn't mean that what's going on the inside isn't awful. You can be looking good and doing good, but feeling quite sick. And I don't know if I was either the first two, but I was certainly the second. 6 years in the cabinet, left triumphant, was supposedly, according to the media, going to succeed the Premier of Ontario. Dalton McGuinty became the CEO of Invest Toronto, an economic development agency. And then, boom, just one night, coming home, anniversary with my then wife, August 31st, 2009, and 28 seconds later, my life had changed. It's the subject of a book, 28 Seconds, published by Penguin, released last fall. Feel free to buy it. I woke up in the morning. I'd spent the night in jail. Had to quit my job. Everything had changed. The great tragedy of the night was not that I lost my job or that my career changed forever. Not that most people had written me off as guilty instead of presumed innocent. The great tragedy of the night was that a man died. I can't devote enough time to Darcy Sheppard and his story, but he was failed by the justice system. He was failed by the social safety net. And yet I was a part of that. I was supposed to be in charge of that justice system. That actually made him worse instead of helping him. So one of the things I really feel obligated to do is to be a part of reforms that change that. But that was the great tragedy, and that is just something that will be with me forever. But I cannot undo that tragic event. The charges were dropped. Basically, the prosecutor determined that I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the charges were dropped 9 months and many hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal defense fees later. The Chatelet magazine put up wrong place, wrong time. That's not my slide, that's theirs. But 2010 would bring more adversity. The end of the year, sadly, my marriage ended. Could not be more amicable split. But I can't, tough, really, really tough for my two young kids who are coping extremely well, but nonetheless are having to deal with something that I never wanted them to have to deal with. And then just a few months later, out of nowhere, my brother died. Boom. One weekend. Aortic dissection. I'd never heard of it before. congenital heart condition. I saw him on a Thursday, talked to him on a Thursday, and was holding his hand when he died in a Memphis hospital on a Monday. I learned what David Foster Wallace has written about, that Destiny's kisses, the good news, and its dope slaps illustrate an individual person's basic personal powerlessness over the really meaningful events in your life. In other words, almost nothing important ever happens to you because you engineer it. I thought I could run the world. I thought that I could control everything that happens to me, and I learned, of course, that it's not that way. Every 7 minutes in Canada, somebody has a heart attack. 2 out of 5 Canadians are going to be diagnosed with cancer at some point in their life. 40% of first marriages end in divorce. 11% of men, 16% of women are going to be diagnosed with clinical depression. 1 out of 5, it went down. 1 out of 5 Canadians will be diagnosed with mental illness. 4 out of 5 will know somebody close to them in their family or a friend or a coworker who suffers from mental illness. 1 out of 10 will endure an addiction or alcoholism of some sort. And all of these awesome graphics and great illustrations of dope slaps are part of life. This is life. Now, there's this is not, well, you know what, I don't want to give away the punchline. The issue is not that it happens, that destiny delivers a dope slap or a kiss. The question then becomes, now what? And the automatic response, instead of being for me, okay, now what, as in what do I do? Because this thing has happened, so what am I going to do? Instead, it becomes this internal dialogue. I turn within and I ask myself, why me? Why me? Why did this happen to me? And this is the question that Job asks in the book of Job. And don't worry, I'll give you a secularized version as well. Job loses it all, okay? He has it all. He loses his family. They die. He loses his health. He loses all of his wealth. He loses everything. And he's having a debate with his brothers. And his brothers say, Job, God is just. Or if you want, there is justice in this world. And Job, you were punished. And therefore, Job, you must be the author of your own misfortune. You must have done something wrong for this terrible thing to happen to you. And I certainly did that. I asked myself, what exactly have I done to contribute to this? Now, this kind of an inventory is not the worst thing in the world to do, but there's got to be a sequel to it as well. Anyways, Job says, no, that's not the case at all. He says, I am innocent. I know I'm innocent. And I suffered. And therefore, his conclusion was, there must not be any justice in this world. Or in his case, that God must be a punishing God. But there is, Stephen Mitchell taught me in an amazing translation of the book of Job. There is a third unthinkable possibility, which is that Job was innocent and that Job suffered, but that there is no therefore. The third unthinkable possibility is that it's either beyond our comprehension or there is no therefore. And if that's the case, then we can move on with the journey and try and see what's next in our tomorrow. So, sometimes there is no therefore. I have learned the hard way. Pain is the touchstone of personal, professional, and spiritual growth. When I see someone who's suffering, what I think to myself, besides compassion, is now things are going to get interesting. Because now your life's going to get interesting. You're going to have your dark night of the soul, and it is going to make you, and you're going to be a bigger person as a result of it. And my practical advice to people is don't isolate, to be selfless. I found when I turned within and worried about myself, it just got worse. I made myself sick with despair. But when I became outwardly focused and helped others, when I volunteered, when I engaged in charitable activities, when I met with people who are also suffering from addictions, and if you want to talk to me, you can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to do that, and I do it all the time. I found that was the thing that helped heal me. There are people at Sanctuary, literally, it's called Sanctuary. It's a homeless drop-in shelter on Charles Street, near Yonge Street here in Toronto. And I was asked to come there because I thought I was supposed to be helping them. I thought I was going to be giving. What I didn't realize is that these people who are just trying to stay alive today, many of them, most of them are just not well. Addiction and mental illness is just basically dominating their life. And they healed me. It's that selfless success that ends up driving me. And I need all of them. There's a Paul Claudel quote, which I'll close with. It is that there's not one of my brothers and sisters that I can do without. In the heart of the meanest miser, the most squalid squatter, and the most miserable drunkard, there is an immortal soul with holy aspirations, which, deprived of daylight, worships in the night. I hear them speaking when I speak. I hear them weeping when I go down on my knees. There is not one of them I can live without. And the same goes for you. Thanks, everybody.